You're a senior leader. Of course, you've got 100 things, 100 initiatives. You're moving forward 1% at a time, right? No, you're not really leading, you're juggling. You're falling for the trap of managing entropy as opposed to actually leading. Busy is easy. The question is, how do you turn yourself into an effective leader? Yes, tech executives don't usually get the luxury of focusing on a single thing easily. You have to handle innovation, delivery, issues, putting out fires twice a week, people leaving, people coming in, regulatory issues, whatever. That doesn't mean you can just get away with never having the ability to focus your efforts, to decide what's important. If everything's important, nothing's important. If everything is a priority, you're probably not moving things fast enough. You're not shipping things as fast as you ought to. And this is the topic of today's video. Let's be honest, too many of us just allow ourselves to handle everything. We think that multitasking is what a good leader does. We fall into the trap of trying to do everything, trying to keep track of anything possible. Nothing falls between the cracks, right? And I agree that's better than letting things fall between the cracks. But the question is, can you avoid being in that scenario at all? When we allow ourselves to be in this position, we are never able to actually move things forward as much as needed. And I hear every week VPs of engineering, CTOs, co-founders telling me how they have all of these things to handle, how their plates are always full and they have to manage everything. And I think that the issue is, the root cause here is that we don't know how to really focus, how to stop defaulting to being busy. And when that's the case, we have this problem come up where we cannot move things as fast as possible. And it's because we somehow, for some reason, end up trying to act like, I don't know, internal VCs in the company, as if we're trying to minimize risk by never putting all of our eggs in one initiative at a time. We try to do a lot of things hoping that one of them would work. And that almost always leads a startup to failure, because you have to have that certainty, you have to have that focus to have an entire organization actually be able to move at top speed. When we don't do that, we see things fade away immediately when it comes to the energy of the team, when it comes to its ability to come up with the right innovation, to find the right solutions. Because if we don't have this focus, if you're not there focusing as a laser beam and helping people see precisely where we're headed and what's important, nothing will happen, at least not as fast as it could. So this is not about placing 100 bets right now when it comes to your leadership focus. We're not talking about how you have innovation in your company. We're talking about how you specifically, as a leader, decide to manage your time, your focus, and your attention. If you're spreading your bets all over the place, you're essentially saying you don't know what to do. You don't know what's important. And when that's the case, your team will not get behind you. We want to create leadership where we actually are able to say, this is what matters, this is what we're going to do, and see that come to fulfillment. When we do that, you'll see that your team can actually deliver things you didn't think were possible. A little progress on 100 different things doesn't really create momentum. It's like when I ask my kids to do something, and instead of doing that, they are reminded, oh, I need to pick that up, I have that homework assignment, I need to call that friend, oh, grandma has a birthday. All of a sudden, we think about everything, and every little thing by itself might seem, at face value as if it's important, it needs to be done. But when we allow ourselves to go around like this without having that focus to finish something important, only then move on to the next, we're just allowing our abilities to slip by. We are never at our full capacity. And again, watching a specific person makes this straightforward, but it's a lot harder to realize how grave of a condition this can be for an organization, even when we're talking about a handful of people. But of course, when we're talking about an order of magnitude more, when you have a lot of people around, focus is actually your main tool to ensure that you gain real momentum, that your team has real velocity, because having them switch directions every day or every hour means that they're never capable of gaining momentum. And when all of them are like clashing, think about the entropy you're creating within your organization. You're never able to move big rocks to do something of substantial value. I actually had to think a lot about why do executives all over the place do this? What's causing us to default to this mode of operation? And I think that there are a bunch of different conditions that we've gotten accustomed to. First of all, it's genuinely scary. It's scary to focus on a single thing, because if we fail to do that, then you see the failure in your face. If I said this is the priority, this is what we're focusing on for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then this doesn't get accomplished, then we realize that this was a mistake. All of a sudden, you might feel stressed because, oh, I made a big mistake. If instead we have 20 different initiatives and we're working on all of those, if something gets delayed, not too bad, people see everything else. It's not as if you made a big mistake. That's a core principle of CYA management nowadays. No one wants to put their reputation on the line on a single thing, even if that's important. Another is that we want to please others. You don't want to say no to things, and I agree you should not default to saying no to everything, because then you're a CT no. I've got a video about that. The card will be somewhere here. But when you're saying yes to everything, you're also saying no to everything else, because you're saying we'll try to do whatever we're asked to do in a way that we don't really prioritize it, so we never accomplish everything that we committed to, or it's never done at the right bar of quality. Either way, we're not really doing the things we said we would, and this is probably not people actually want. They might think that, okay, this is the best we can do right now, but that's not the truth. The truth is that given your poor priority making management, you're doing things like this, but that's not a must. And also, it seems like we've created this sort of obnoxious culture where we expect people to be in this constant hustling mode. You see it everywhere. You scroll LinkedIn, people are talking about doing things, about all the things that they have to juggle. And you're not in a circus. Your role is not to be constantly juggling things and saying as if that's a good thing. If I'm constantly juggling things, it means that I am not good enough at being a leader to create an organization that doesn't require all of that constant juggling. Yeah, from time to time, we all have to juggle a bit, but if that's, what you're doing, if you're just, if you've ever had babies, you know that there comes a point where you notice that you start rocking, the stroller, even if the baby isn't in it, because you're used to it. Or you hold something and you start rocking it, or start patting it like you're used to doing with a kid. That becomes like your muscle memory. If your muscle memory is juggling, if when you're thinking about what your leadership means, you're always trying to juggle everything, you're probably not really being a good leader. Having the guts to say no to something, to say what's really important, that's what leadership genuinely is all about. That's what leading means. You're saying, here is where we're going, let's start going there. You're not handing directions to 24 people saying, you go there, let's see what happens, let me know if you find something useful. That's not what leadership is about. And again, I'm making a big difference between innovation per se, which I have a lot of content about, and what real leadership should be about. Your mode of thinking about how you decide, how you prioritize. You have to disengage from this mode of saying yes to everything, of feeling like, I'm busy, that's just the way it is. You always have to keep, keep staying in the calendar race. No, what you need to do is to learn how to break out of that loop and start focusing on things, how to decide what is important and get that done. And sometimes we don't even grasp what are the hidden costs of this operation mode for leaders. I recently talked to a senior leader and asked her to say what are her top 1, 2, 3 max priorities. What is she saying has to happen for her organization to succeed in the next couple of months? And she found this exercise so hard. She kept repeating a kitchen sink list of a lot of little things that she's trying to move forward. I'm like, okay, I understand. Everything on that list is important, but you cannot really do all of those together. That's why nothing is moving as fast as you'd like it to. You're saying that you're feeling frustrated, but what are you going to do? Can you actually get something done to start creating that momentum, to gain the benefits of at least one thing being improved before moving on to the next? And this is a pitfall that a lot of us don't realize. It's a bit like if you've ever read or learned a bit about personal finance and tackling debt. If you've got debt, it helps a lot not to pay all the different loans, but if you've got debt, for some people, it would be a lot more beneficial to focus on a single thing. Let's take the smallest loan you've got and pay that back in full before moving on to the next, or focus on the loan with the highest interest rate, paying that in full before moving on to the next, where you're paying only the minimal fees for everything else, because then you start getting this momentum. You start tackling the big things. You see your success when you actually achieve these things, when you actually complete one, when you have these milestones. If instead you're always trying to see a dozen different things coming to fruition, you're probably not seeing anything. And that's frustrating and killing your momentum. So what do you need to do in order to break free from this mode of operation? You need to start being ruthless. You need to kill your darlings if needed. I don't care if it's something that really is important to you. If you're not really making progress there, if you cannot see that thing being completed soon because you cannot give it all of your attention, put that aside or make that genuinely your priority. At any given point, you should have a priority or two that you know are your initiatives. And not just you. You need everyone around you to be aware that these are the important things. These are the things we will deliver. These are the things we're going to measure ourselves by. And we're not necessarily talking about the roadmap, about the actual delivery stuff that you always have to do, but I'm talking about your other initiatives. Do you have a big transition you're planning when it comes to your technical capabilities? Are you changing your organization? Are you improving how you're managing the team itself, how your managers are when it comes to being managers? If you're installing a coaching framework, whatever big change you're doing, focus on that. Maybe you're deciding, hey, we need to learn how to code with AI, so we're doing that upgrade. Focus on one thing. Get it to a point where you can say, okay, we did that. We shipped that capability we want in our organization. We have reached the quality bar. We set for ourselves. We have less customer success issues, whatever. And now we can turn our sights to the next thing on the list or decide if we want to double down on this for a bit more. But we have this completion. Teams will see that we do what we said we want to do. They will see us celebrate it because we actually reach the end of something from time to time. When we actually get there, it's a lot easier to celebrate, to pat ourselves on the back. When we are always moving a lot of different things, you never notice that. That's partly why I hate Kanban, by the way. It's because it feels like endless, like bubblegum, always stretching. You never feel like, okay, I reached a milestone. Or it's a lot easier to witness that when you're working this way. And when we're not talking about pure delivery, but about the delivery of improvements in your organization and making your team, your group better, we want to focus on this, on having this sense of completion, of having the spine to say, this is what we're focusing on, this is what I say is important, Now let's get this done. Will you ever make mistakes? Will you realize that something that you said is a priority can no longer be the priority? Sure, that comes with the territory. But still, on a grander scheme of things, you will be making faster progress. You will be gaining more momentum. You'll be creating a much more robust organization. So remember, sometimes we have to slow down in order to really accelerate. We have to protect the organization's bandwidth, because if we want to deliver things at the right level, if we want to have the ability of being the organization we strive to be, we have to be on top of things and decide what really is the top priority. If we don't do that, we're never going to be moving as fast as the company deserves, as our people need. You'll never allow them to fulfill their potentials, and the best people will leave. Your company will go to ruin. You'll never raise another round. Your career will be, turned into nothing. I'm kidding. Okay, it probably won't be that dire, but life's too short to lead a mediocre organization. Life's too short to waste them working in this way where you're constantly juggling. And unless you're gonna get some, medieval fool's hat and start doing that because you really like being the juggler, I recommend moving on from the busy is easy sort of mode of operation to something that's real, genuine leadership. It's harder, but it's also easier, if you're getting what I mean. You cannot brute force your way to success. You have to focus on things. So your takeaways are: decide what your 1 to 2 priorities are. Ensure that the managers in your organization can recite these. Ensure that the ICs in the organization can see what these are, can sense when we complete them and celebrate them, and can trace how the initiatives they're working on can connect to those top priorities. When you have that, when you really do that, you'll be able to ride the dragon, create an organization worth leading, because life's too short to do anything else. And if you need help getting there, my email's in the video description. Reach out to me, I can help you. Thank you. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and I'm waiting to see you here in the next video.